Mike Bond here in Singapore at UFC 275 with a man many of you know, American top team coach, Mike Brown. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. Welcome to Singapore.
Yeah, right. How's the journey out here? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, beautiful weather, beautiful city, and we're getting ready for the show. Big one.
Yeah, definitely. Have you been out here before?
One time, it's been a while, UFC years ago, but it's been a while. It's a nice spot.
What's the hardest part about getting one of your fighters to acclimate to something like this, where it's literally like 12 hours ahead of Eastern time, complete change of the clock?
I think it's that first night, powering through and staying up the whole day and then sleeping that night. If you nap on that first day, you're going to be hurting. It's going to be hard to find a rhythm.
Yeah, I actually made it through that, and I'm feeling okay right now, but I also don't have to worry about a fight. And I know Joanna Jedrzejczyk does, who you are here cornering. It's been 27 months since we've seen her. To finally have her back, I know you guys are very close and have built a strong bond over the years. Just to have her back fighting, how happy are you to see that?
Super pumped. This is, I think, really good for also the team because she's a great team member, motivating, hard worker. She's definitely a team leader. So it's good to have her back in the gym. She leads by example. Everything is hard. Everything she always shows mental toughness in everything she does, from weight cutting to strength conditioning to hard sparring, whatever it is. She's pushing the pack.
She seems to be in a great place. I got to talk to her on Tuesday, I believe it was, like a few hours after we got in, and she seems like, and she's in extremely good shape physically. She said mentally she's refreshed. Can you notice any of that, or does she still seem like the same old Joanna around the gym?
No, I mean, I think she's. You're seeing confidence. I think she had a good camp. She's healthy. She's in great shape. Her weight is in a good spot. So I think what you're seeing is self-belief and confidence.
It's because she had said when she sat out, she didn't want to come back and fight in front of no fans. She wanted a better contract and everything. She seems like everything is just in place for this fight. And then she gets Weili, who's her last opponent. Is this the fight? I mean, I'm sure we all would have liked to see her fight for a belt right away, but is this the best alternative? Is this the fight you wanted to see her come back and do?
Yeah, there wasn't, because of all the things she's done in her career, there wasn't a lot of things that made sense to her. And this was one of them, right? It was going to be a title shot, maybe a number one contender, or of course the Weili fight. These are all giant fights, some fights that people care about, fights that will draw eyes, and something that will motivate her to push like she pushes.
Yeah, and this ticks two of the three boxes, right? It's Weili, and Dana White has confirmed it is his number one contender fight. Obviously, the big difference between the two is this one's 3 rounds as opposed to the last one was 5. How do you think that changes the approach? I mean, Joanna's one of the most high output fighters in the entire sport, regardless of what kind of fight it is, but just 3 rounds allow her to push even harder?
Yeah, I think that's really the only difference is pace. When everyone gives it their all in training for a 3 or a 5. The only thing difference is the pace, right? This allows you to put on the gas a little bit earlier and go higher volume right from the jump. So that's what I expect. I expect action from bell to bell. I expect you have 2 confident athletes that 100% believe in themselves, believe that they're going to win. And they're both high volume strikers that believe in themselves. So I think we're going to see fireworks.
Yeah, and I was cage side for the first fight. I thought she won that time around. I thought she was 3-2 for her. But when you look back on that first fight, what's kind of your biggest takeaway from it?
I mean, there's a lot to take away. Obviously, we don't want to tip our hand too much, but it was a very close fight. I think Jay, landed more strikes, but I think the damage is what maybe fell in Weili's favor. It wasn't an easy fight to score. It could have gone many different ways. But there's a lot to take away from that fight. A lot we don't want to give away too soon, but I think that we can make the right adjustments, and I think we will be victory this Saturday.
She said many times the buzzword for her this week and leading up to it is being, be smarter coming out of that first fight. And the expectations, are probably so high. You're not going to be able to repeat what happened, last time around. Fight of the year, one of the best fights ever. So do you guys, I don't know, how do you kind of look back at the first fight compared to the second? I mean, do you just like be like, we need to go in with a completely different approach here, and we can't do that same type of fight again?
Well, I mean, you do a lot of film study, and I mean, you can. It's great. You have great material. You have a 5-round fight that wasn't too long ago to pick from. You can see some of the stuff that'll work, some of the stuff that won't. Of course, they've both changed and both improved since the last fight. But we got a lot of material. Plus, we have a few more fights. Weili's fights with Rose are also good material, good study material. So there's a lot of footage out there to dissect, and there's a lot of adjustments that can be made. And I think that we've made the right adjustments, and I think we'll be well prepared.
Yeah, and you mentioned those 2 fights Weili had. Going into the first fight, she's on a 20-fight winning streak. She's the champion. It's a different scenario now. 2 losses in a row. This is a very important fight for her. Do you think this is an advantage for Joanna? Maybe Weili's confidence isn't in the same place as it was when they first fought, when she was on that big run.
That stuff is really hard to say, but it could be. Confidence is important, and when you are on a 20-fight win streak or whatever it was, that's powerful. I mean, self-belief is, it goes a long way. That's the one who's the more aggressive. It's the one who with no fear, the one who strikes first, strikes last, and does everything with confidence. So it could help, but this is, who knows, and I think it's also probably a minimal part of the fight.
For sure, and obviously we don't want to look past this one, but the title shot stakes are there, and it's kind of crazy, right? Carla wins the belt back. There's a scenario where Joanna could potentially take it from her again. That just kind of shows how sometimes the sport comes full circle, and that's kind of what Joanna's referenced.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild. It's pretty cool to see Carla, who was the first, UFC strawweight champion, is there on top again. That's always, those are my favorite stories, the comeback stories. So Carla's story is a beautiful one, and I hope that we can follow in her footsteps with Joanna doing the same.
Yeah, that's a good segue, talking about comeback stories. I want to ask you about another one of your fighters, Dustin Poirier, who I know is trying to come back here from the title fight loss in December. What would you like to see from him? I mean, he was at that point where I think immediately after the fight, he wanted maybe a specific fight, and then now he's, I think, willing to kind of fight anyone. He just wants to fight. I think he's made that pretty clear. What kind of hunger are you seeing from him in the gym right now? I know he's in Florida as we speak. Yeah,
so he's back working on his skills at the headquarters, fine-tuning things. And he's another guy who's been there, done it, fought a lot of giant fights, a lot of main events. So for him, it's something that has to be big and it has to make sense. He's not going to just take any fight, but it has to be something that excites him, something that's going to sell, something that fans want to see. He's not going to just take, I think, any fight. Hopefully it's going to be some big name marquee type fight, like a Diaz Conor type of action. That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah. And what difference do you see in him this time around? I mean, after the Khabib fight, I know he picked himself back up. He got on that streak and got himself to another title shot. And I know he was really devastated after the Oliveira fight. But he said, if I want to get back here, I can do whatever I want to do. It's just a question of, do I want to do it? What are you kind of seeing from him on that side of it?
Yeah, of course he can. His resume may be the best of anybody's in the division. He's had incredible win streaks. It's just some of these big fights necessarily haven't got his way, so he hasn't won the undisputed title. But he's obviously as good as anybody in that division, and can absolutely put himself back in position to do that. A lot of people thought he wouldn't be able to do it one time, or the first time he lost to Conor, people wrote him off, but he battled back for a title shot, and he did it again. This guy is also breaking many records, like volume records, longevity records. He's one of the best of all time in the sport, without a doubt, if you check his resume.
Totally agree. And last thing on Dustin, if you had your preference, would he have his next fight at 155 or 170?
I think unless it's for a title fight, I'd say welterweight, just so he's happy. Because when he's happy, I think he's best, and that's where he he seems to have this most fun. We're in the gym, he's clowning around, he's not killing himself dieting, and he's the most dangerous when he's having fun.
And speaking of welterweights, Jorge Masvidal, I know he's got some stuff going on outside the cage, but he said he is going to fight this year. And he's kind of going back and forth with Conor McGregor a little bit online. Your perfect world, do you want to see Jorge fight Conor? I mean, that would be, he says it would be one of the biggest fights in UFC history. With the names, what those guys have done, it's kind of hard to disagree in terms of the attention it would get. Is that what you'd like to see for Jorge?
Of course. I mean, that would be incredible. I couldn't imagine a fight that would be bigger. With those, both of their personalities and their fighting styles, I think it would be the biggest numbers the sport's ever seen.
And do you think, I mean, is that the size seems to be like the part that comes in? Dana White has said he thinks Jorge is too big for him. He's kind of been pushing that button a little bit with Conor. I know that irritated Conor too. Is that something you think would be a huge factor in that fight, or because it would likely be a pretty much entirely stand-up fight, maybe it's not as big of a deal as some might think?
Well, it seems like something's going on. Conor's obviously put on some size. It looks like in his mind he is looking to move up, and I have no idea what his plans are, but maybe this is what he had his eyes set on. Obviously, he has a plan and he has his eyes set on something, and it looks like it's something at welterweight, and it might be George. George is, I think one of the absolute biggest draws in the sport, and one of the most exciting guys in the sport, so it would make a lot of sense.
And before I let you go, obviously it's always ridiculous times in the gym. There's so many big fights coming up, year round for you guys. What in your mind are you kind of most excited for? I know Mateusz Gamrot has a main event coming up. Kayla Harrison's back soon. I'm sure Arlovsky's going to be back in there at some point. What's kind of exciting you most at the moment?
Well, in 2 weeks we got a Bellator show with 5 guys on it, 5 strong athletes, with Johnny Eblen fighting for the title. That's really big. Danny Sabatello's in the $1 Million tournament. You got young Cody Law working his way up the ranks. Sabah Homasi, always exciting to watch. And I'm missing somebody. But the card is stacked. So this is I think we have Alex Shabili on that card as well. So yeah, so we have 5 on that card. Monster card. One I'm pretty pumped about. Then a week after that, or the same weekend, will be Gamrot, and the following weekend, Kayla. So it's a busy 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I guess just one thing on Kayla. This is, I think, probably in terms of opponent, Julia Budd, like the most decorated opponent or experienced opponent she's faced so far. Is that something that, are you seeing like a different kind of motivation maybe for her in the gym? The fact that, she gets to beat a former champion, potentially at Bellator. It seems like this is a fight that does something for her legacy, and as a fight that I think people want to see her fight an opponent with this experience level.
I'd love to say yes, but I don't see things change with her. She's a gym rat. She's in the gym, immediately after. She may take a few days, but she is as a gym rat as anybody I've ever seen. She's very diligent about her training. She's a workhorse. So I don't see any more volume or any more intensity than I normally see. But I do think probably in the back of her head, this is one that she definitely wants to get. Julia has probably the biggest name of anybody she's fought. I don't think necessarily the strongest opponent to the state, but she's definitely up there, and former Bellator champion, great record, and has only lost to some of the sport's best athletes. This is a great test for Kayla, and I think a worthy, worthwhile opponent.
Awesome, man. Well, looking forward to it. I really appreciate the time, and obviously best of luck to you, the team, and Joanna on Saturday night, stateside, Sunday morning here.
Thanks so much.